So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I use Claude Cowork as an AI employee to help me get to my first 10K through my podcast. Now, on my quest to hit my first 10K through my podcast and ultimately grow a one-man $1 million media brand, I will not be monogamous to any of these AI tools. I'll be using whatever tool works best for the results I want, and you should do the same. So in the last episode, you see I used Perplexity Computer to go out and find some potential sponsors for my podcast. But of course, we got to get guests for the pod. Now that could take about 3 to 4 hours a day. You're doing that manually, or you outsource that to an executive or executive assistant or a VA. That's going to cost you. But we have all of these agentic tools, and it costs us a lot less to do the same work. So in this video, what I'm going to do is show you the full setup, where I store this information in Notion, how I use Claude Cowork, and then how I'm updating it, and then we're going to do a live demo. So stick around to the end so you can see how I use Claude Cowork, and then how you can actually do the same thing to improve your skills each and every day so that you get better and better results for whatever you want. So I do most of my work and store most of my activity in Notion. This is my Notion database for my outbound in March. I track all of these things, and I'm kind of short on this month. I'll be honest. I'm only up to about 181 outbound connections. I could be doing 100 a week. So, but a lot of it has been me tinkering with Claude to get it to work right. But really quick, this table allows me to store all of my connections or outbound messages for the month. This includes podcast invites, sponsorships, partnership collaborations, like workshops that I've been doing, being featured on podcasts, anything, me doing outreach to anyone, to companies, to directly to other people. All of that can be saved here, and you see in the connection type. And so that's how I set up this table. I actually talked to Claude about it, and it went and built this table for me. And when we go inside the table, you can see all of the properties that I have, understanding what industry they're in, how active they are on LinkedIn. We'll get into that in a second. Their website, what type of connection we have, if I had to make an offer, what the offer was, how many follow-ups. All of those good things are set up here in Notion. And so now you just connect Notion to your Claude and your Claude Cowork, and then I can have Claude Cowork go over and drop any of the data I need into this database. This is my podcast guest prospecting skill, and this is my podcast guest prospecting task. The task, it has when it repeats, or how often it reoccurs every Monday through Thursday at 7 o'clock. Here's a description. It finds 25 new Black founder podcast guest prospects in my area, Baltimore DMV area. It shows me what apps it's connect to, what apps it's always allowed to access. So that's Notion and the LinkedIn website. So I use Claude in Chrome so that it can actually surf the internet on my behalf. And then here are all of the instances, right? The history of instances that have been used. I skipped the last few because I've been working on trying to correct and improve this action. And then here are the instructions. So here are all of the instructions. It can update these instructions on its own. You can literally just say, add this to the instructions, and it will do so. And as you improve it, it makes or amends the instructions. So these are the instructions, but I want to take you back from the top. So the very first one is find podcast guests in the DMV region. This is where everything kicked off. I built this prompt in regular Claude, but you see here at the top, Claude Chat. So I built this prompt, made it a research assistant, because that's who you would typically be paying to do this. That'll be the highest level person to execute this. I gave it all of the details. These are the types of people that I want on my podcast. This is where you should prioritize their location. These are the types of businesses. These are the people who you need to avoid. Here's what we're going to use to do the research: LinkedIn, Google Maps, company websites, local business directories. Claude Cowork can go out and find all of this. Here are all of the columns. These are the exact same columns that you see in that Notion database. And then I wanted to tell me why this person is a good fit and actually score them. So that way we're not wasting our time. Anything less than a 7 or 8, 7 is the lowest, then we're not rocking with it. So it doesn't even put them on the list if it doesn't hit the score. And then it's supposed to return back 20 to 40 prospects a day. So that's the original prompt. And then I had it found 20 prospects. It gave me the top 5 picks. Now, once I was satisfied with that list, I was like, oh, we have scheduled tasks. We can just go and have it do this for us every day. So I added it, and it scheduled a task every Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. as you can see here. Now this task outputs a new list, as you can see here. And this is going to make a new Google document or Google spread, a Google sheet every single time. And I realized I'm not trying to have to go through a new sheet every day because I'll see the same people. I won't know where I stopped or start. I didn't set it up well. So I said, well, we need to just add this to one sheet. And I decided we're going to put it in Notion because that's what I work from most of the time anyway. So the next iteration here is we went in and I gave it access to look at my Notion database for existing prospects, and I gave it access to Notion. So you see here is the Notion connector, and that's where things got a lot smoother for me. And I also updated a part of the outreach skill to add a stronger CTA line, so that made it a lot easier for me. And then I went in and changed it again because I realized that I am no longer, well, what I realized is that most of my prospects I'll be messaging on LinkedIn. So the conversation is more direct, it's more casual. It doesn't have to be like an outbound cold email, which nobody really likes. So I said, scratch that. Let's improve the message along with improving the skill. And that's what we have. So the next day I went in and I had to update it because it was giving me duplicates. So I gave an example of what the duplicate was. I also showed where it was jamming all of the information into one block of notes, which is inconvenient because if I want to send this outreach message, I had to go into this block, scroll, scan, copy, and paste. That was too inconvenient, so I had it make those updates. I let the task run the next day, and it was still giving me duplicates, so I told it we still need to improve this prospecting guest list. It did a much better job of finding the right people, giving me the correct links. Previously, it wasn't giving me the correct LinkedIn links, so it has the correct links, but it's still giving me the whole message. All of the details I asked for is still putting all of it in the notes column, and that's way too inconvenient. I let it run again. Each day we make these updates. It takes about 10, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most, because you have to run it and see what it looks like. But I gave it some more updates. It updated all of the columns. It removed the notes field totally, and we had to double check for why it kept duplicating. So I told it to just find people. And every day it starts fresh. And I said, that's a problem. And it told me, I said, why does this keep happening? This is like the third time I asked you. It says, I don't have built-in memory between sessions. Every time you ask me to do research, I start fresh. I don't know who's already on the list. And I asked it, is it a way we could work around that or do that better? And it said, yes. It can query the database before it starts researching. That way it already knows what names are on the list. And then it can pull a full contact name for everybody on the list. And every research session, it'll treat it as a do not add to the list. So we have the notes field corrected where we won't be dropping information in that anymore. We have the duplication problem solved because it's going to refer back to the list to know what names it shouldn't add. The messages are already updated. And so as we come back, you'll see here, it goes in, it updates the skill itself. It tells you exactly what it did, prevent the duplicates, no notes, and tight field mapping. The fields are each one of the properties that I showed you before, and then it'll give you the skill. These skills are actually in your folder on your actual computer. So when you click show in folder, this is what it will look like. So I have a folder that is dedicated to this part of my business, and it'll just put it in the right folder. I also added a few more tasks that I think would make it a lot easier for me, which is first, it needs to go in, and every time it should show me the date that we are working on. So you can see here where it says date founded, it stopped putting the dates. So I was doing it, I had to do it manually, and that's just one more thing that I don't need to do. It's just less clicking around. It should be able to put the dates in every time. So I had it go in and complete this date found field for me. So that makes it easier. And also I realized that because most of these businesses or podcast guests and these prospects are on LinkedIn, just make the connection, because having the connection makes it easier for me to send them a message, and it allows me to preserve my inbound or my in-mail messages on LinkedIn. So let me show you how Cowork talked with me about the logic behind this. I told it what I wanted to do, asked it if it understands. It said, yes, this part matters, right? The auto connecting on LinkedIn. I understand the strategy completely because it allows to grow my following passively on LinkedIn, and it conserves in-mail credits, which is if you're paying for premium access on LinkedIn, you get a certain amount of in-mails, but if you blow through them, you have to wait till the next month, and we are on this daily, so we need to conserve as many of those as possible. If we see somebody that's like a high prospect, then yeah, we're going to use a message there, but until then, just make the connection, and if somebody connects, then I can send them the message without using any inbound connections. You have to think about how you're doing your workflows and go back and iterate as much as possible before you automate. Like, you actually have to do these things. So you have to go and make the connections and understand every step that you have. Oftentimes I write these things down for myself and for my client. You can see a little list there, and you just go through it and like, okay, this worked, that didn't work, these are the steps we got to take. These things make it a lot easier. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. We are going to run the updated skill, and we're just going to do it on 5 prospects and see how it works, if it puts everything in the right place, if we got the right links, if we got the right messages, and if it went and made the connections for us. All right, so our new skill is looking good. I want you to do a quick test run using our new podcast guest researcher skill. Just do 5 prospects. Don't run the skill for the total amount like what we would do normally. Just do it for 5 people. And I'm using Sonnet 4.6 because this is a pretty simple task now that all of the details are loaded in. I don't need to use Opus to search for these people because it knows exactly what to do. Now we're going to let that run, and I'll give you an update once we're back. Now that we did this test run, it shows that it was running from the old skill. So the skill did not update properly. And it caught that, and it said it's going to run the workflow manually and follow the new instructions that we just updated in the actual conversation here. And it should probably remind me or remind itself that it needs to post the skill as being updated. What I like about using many of these agents is that you can see exactly what it's doing and how it's tracking through. So it gave me, here's the progress list. It's doing the research, and now it's sending the connections. Over here, it let me know that it found somebody who was already on the list. They're already in the pipeline, so they're going to swap that out. The other 4 are solid, and it's going to then take the next step right here, which is step 4, to add everybody or add the prospects to the Notion database. It needs me to allow. All right, so it went through one by one. Now let's go over to Notion real quick, see how it looks. Okay, and here we go. So we have all 5 of the new people updated. It has the date. Let's click in. It has the type of connection, which is a LinkedIn connection, the type of offer, which is a podcast invite, and it dropped in the company name, date, connection type. The outreach message is here, so I could just copy it and paste it right into LinkedIn. Couldn't find the contact email. Great, I'm glad it told me that. Last active LinkedIn activity, it says 2025. I told it not to find anybody that was more than 3 months, so I have to go into the page and see. Location, mutual connections, yes. It gave me a score, why they fit, so that was cool. And then down here is where I would write any kind of notes. So overall, I'm satisfied. I got to go back in, figure out why it's repeating, make sure the skill is installed. It did a great job dropping all of the right data points into all of the properties. But what I will say is that this task being scheduled every day, this task is very, very slow compared to the previous task where it would just research people, add them to the database. That searching on LinkedIn for me and making the connection takes up a lot more time. So I need to be prepared to be able to go off, and I have some other work to do in a different app or something like that, not necessarily in my browser, because it's going to use the browser back and forth to make the LinkedIn connections. But I'm happy. We're going to go forward. If you like this demo and you want to see more about using AI to build my podcast to $10,000 a month in revenue, then give me a like, subscribe, and I'll check you out in the next video.